We are now going to learn about one of the most important functions that is used in Excel, which is the offset function. This offset function is generally used when the data is not static. Okay, it is mainly dynamic in nature. That is when offset function is used. What do I mean by dynamic? Dynamic is basically when the data keeps on changing continuously, or in case we may have different requirement in terms of output. If that keeps on changing, we can use this offset function. Before we use it, let's just understand the meaning of this offset function. Offset function is to return the value of a cell, that is specified number of rows and columns, away from a cell or a range of cells that you referenced in an adjacent range. I'm sure this must have been a bit confusing to you, as in this is the theoretical meaning of using offset. Let's do it using this example over here, which we have in front of us, and see what it basically tells or gives us. Now, the example gives us the month Jan, Feb, March, April up to December 2011, and we have the sales in that particular month. Now, this is just a hypothetical example. We are not debating as to what these and how these numbers came. But just for your understanding's sake, you need to know that in the month of Jan, let's say we had sales of 2 cars or 2 scooters. In Feb, we had 3 scooters or cars that have been sold. Okay, so this is basically the sales and the month, in which month how much sales was basically. Let's say I want to find out the sales that happened in the month of May 11. So what you do is basically find out May 11 in your data, and you just link this data C13 and you get the sales. But do we have to do this? Do we want to do this manually? No, this is not what we want to do, right? We want something which is more concrete in nature and which can directly give us the answer. So that we're going to do using the offset function. Is equal to offset. This basically returns a reference to a range, that is a given number of rows and columns from a given reference. First thing it asked you is to give the reference. What kind of an output are we looking at is what we need to refer. What we want is the month, right? We are referring to the month, so we link in the month B8. Next is the rows. It is basically asking you, if this month is a reference cell, how many rows below is the row that you're looking at? We want May 11, right? May 11 is right here, which is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th. It is the 5th row from the reference cell. Always remember, we count the number of rows after the reference cell. So your reference cell is this B8, after which 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we type in 5, comma. It asks for the columns. How many columns away from the reference? It's going to be the first column itself. So it will be 1. Now what it is asking is the height. It is asking us the height and width. Let's say I give 1 as the height and width as 1 as well. What is this? This is going to return me the value of the cell just next to it. So the height and width, if it's 1 to 1, it will give me the answer as 2. If I change the row height, let's say I keep it as 2, 1, you'll find that there is hash value, because we do not have the third column, right? We just have only one column over here next to it. It means it will return an array which has 2 cells attached to it. Since we have only 1, let's change this again to 1 and we have the answer 2. Now, what if we change and you want an output which gives me the month associated to it? We want the month. What do we do in that case? Okay, you are using the same formula. So let's just copy paste the formula. But what you need is, you want to find out the month associated to it. Okay, so what you need to do is, you need to edit this formula. This needs to be B8. We should have referenced it, then it won't have been a problem. And instead of, if you look at this formula over here, we have the reference, then the rows, columns, height and width. Okay, what we're going to change is basically the column. We need to now change this column and make it 0. We need to change the format and keep it to, let's say, date. Okay, and now you'll be able to see that we have the month specified as well. Okay, 9th May 2011. Correct? So this is how you can use the offset function in order to provide a combination of various functions. Let's now see where the dynamic nature of offset can be used in case of any problem area. But this was using the dynamic sum range offset function.